So the FCC has now released the full text of the new net neutrality regulations. And as we talked about when we announced the decision to regulate broadband and mobile broadband under Title II, there are many great things in these regulations, and there are still some uncertainties. So most of the document is actually not about what most people consider issues of net neutrality. A lot of the document deals with uncommon scenarios, clarifying some specific legal matters, and so on and so forth. The parts about what you and I have been speaking of so much with regard to net neutrality, fast lanes, paid prioritization, what else? Throttling. Those parts are actually relatively short. And the document does make it clear that broadband providers are going to be classified under Title II. They aren't going to be subject to all of the same regulations as, for example, phone companies, which are also regulated under Title II. Because the regulations, the text says, quote, only those Title II provisions found to directly further the public interest in an open internet and more, better, and open broadband will be applied to these broadband companies. So this is quite subjective and open to interpretation. It's under Title II. Broadband and mobile broadband are under Title II, Lewis, but only the provisions of Title II that we think are most relevant to furthering the public interest are actually going to be applied. It leaves quite a bit of wiggle room.
I think that was probably intentional.
Yeah.
Rather than there just being not a really firm understanding of what's happening here. I think, the language has been so vague all along.
And we have some specific language with regard to things like blocking and throttling. So Section 8.5 says, no blocking. A person engaged in the provision of broadband internet access service, insofar as such person is so engaged, shall not block lawful content, applications, services, or non-harmful devices. That's good. The caveat there is, what if certain things are made non-lawful? That is still something we discuss, which is if you want to block torrents or if you want to block particular platforms or types of content, you can make it unlawful, and then the internet service provider actually would have no issue whatsoever with legally blocking that content. Section 8.7 is no throttling. A person engaged in the provision of broadband internet service shall not impair or degrade lawful internet traffic on the basis of internet content. Again, lawful being that key word which some legal experts say could be used to throttle or to block. And Section 8.9, no paid prioritization. A person engaged in the provision of broadband internet service shall not engage in paid prioritization. That one is quite clear.
That one is very clear, yeah, and I think that one makes sense. Doesn't mean it still can't happen behind the scenes. You never really know.
No, but I think that we have to agree that even with these caveats of what can be made unlawful, there are good things here, and this is, even though it may contain some potential steps backwards, this still contains several steps forward in a good direction.
It does. It's a good thing, and I hope that the FCC will actively oversee this and make sure that this is properly enforced. Because if they just write the laws and then sit back and do nothing, there will be some of this stuff happening.